Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Global Government News. This is a Eugenics news segment. It is Monday, November 22nd, 2010, and I am Darko. Welcome back. We're going to finish up in this part 2 series of Eugenics. We covered these two articles, but I didn't get a chance to read the paragraph, just the first paragraph, so I'm going to go ahead and just read that for these last two articles that we left off with in the first part of the video. It says here from Natural News, the pesticide exposure causes attention problems in children. Children who are exposed to organophosphate pesticides in utero are significantly more likely to develop attention problems later in life, according to a study conducted by researchers from the University of California, Berkeley, and published in the journal Environmental Health Perspectives. Moving on to that other article, doctors warn that using Facebook can cause asthma attacks. I've even heard it causing, I believe it's schizophrenia. It says the social networking site Facebook is causing a new wave of physical and mental health problems, says researchers from Italy. According to their analysis, scientists say that Facebook has become a new source of psychological stress that is capable of inducing asthma attacks, particularly in those with pre-existing asthmatic conditions. So there you go, folks. Not only is Facebook bad for your privacy, but it's also bad for your health. It says, a life with incurable breast cancer, and this is from the Telegraph. A full 22 years after being told she had terminal cancer, Catherine Russell Rich reveals the wonderful things she's learned about herself and life. And this is, of course, before she dies, right? And you got the pink ribbon, support cancer, and you got the fist. She's fighting it. Well, she's not really fighting it. She's just dying slowly, right? This is eugenics, folks, and this is my opportunity to plug something that, well, some individuals have been locked up, believe it or not, for saying that there's a cure for cancer. Well, I'm not going to say there's a cure for cancer. I'm just going to say that there's certain things out there, such as foods, mostly seeds. I'll say apricot kernels for one, contain something called B17, a nitrilicide, that can help alleviate some of the symptoms that are caused by cancer. You can go with the radiation and be radiated like all the other slaves, and trust your medical establishment, or you can try some alternative health avenues that are out there for you. You just gotta open your mind and not stop trusting big pharma. Basically, you can, my friend just told me of a story of a woman that he worked with that said that she had just been diagnosed with cancer, and before he can even go to her and advise her to not get radiated and go through that chemo, and first at least try something called Laetrile, which is basically another form of the amygdalina or amygdaline. She basically was already in chemo. So after a week being diagnosed with cancer, she was already going through chemo. There's a lot more that's going into the whole cure for cancer, and it has to do with a business. There's more money in finding a cure for cancer than there is people with cancer. So you just have to remember that it is a business just like everything else, but it's also eugenics. And you can be a statistic, or you can really be a fighter of cancer, and you can try different avenues. Like I said, just try looking into finding alternatives to helping not cure. I'm not saying that. I want to put that disclaimer out there, but to help alleviate some of the symptoms that are associated with cancer patients. And you'll find that it's pretty hard to find some of those solutions, some of those how would I say it, apricot kernels. Well, you're going to have to go to another country. You're going to have to go online to find those bad boys, because they're outlawed pretty much in the United States. And those little amygdalina pills or Laetrile pills, you're going to have to go to another country online to find those. There's a reason for that, folks. I'm going to move on here. Thailand, discovery of fetuses sparks abortion debate. Look at that picture. Isn't that sad? Following the discovery of more than 2,000 aborted fetuses at the Temple Crematorium in Bangkok last week, Thai police have promised a crackdown on clinics performing illegal abortions, already arresting one abortion practitioner and investigating several clinics. It says the nascent crackdown immediately sparked criticism from reproductive rights activists who say it will force poor women into more illicit and unsafe conditions. And this is the same rhetoric that you hear. I've grown up on it. I was born in 1980, and I've heard this crap so many times, especially when I was a teenager in the 90s during the Clinton era, where, back alley abortions, that's all you hear. Black alley abortions, got to use a hanger, right? And it says if they choose to end a pregnancy in Thailand, where most abortions are legal. We're talking about murdering life, so, should it be legal to, go to a hitman, a mercenary, and say, well, you know what, my neighbor, he, he just kind of came in my, he's kind of just in my, I don't even know how you would say that, basically, because it's not even really, justified. I mean, if someone came in and stole your property or is in your, on your property or threatening your life, you kind of have a right to take action and defend yourself against that person. But this is, we're talking about a life that has no way of defending itself. And they want to be able to find a way to hire somebody to kill that for them, to kill that life for them. It's a pretty sad story. This next article up, again, another propaganda piece from the mainstream media. Who needs marriage? A changing institution. And this is, of course, what the social engineers want. They don't like monogamy. They don't like monogamous relationships because that is when the tribe or the family unit stays together. They don't want families. They don't like families. They want the state to be the family, and they want the state to be the parents, and they want the citizens to be the children. And that is something that, man, if there's any point that I can get across in these eugenics videos, it is that, what I just said. And they want people to be sleeping around and not settling down with one partner. They don't want there to be a bond. No bonds. They just want it to be completely for fun. There's no love in it. There's no reason for reproducing. They just want it to be pure sex, pure selfishness, pure self-absorbed pleasure. And that's all the social engineers want. And unfortunately, a good portion of the population right now in society have basically fell for it. So. Says the wedding of the 21st or the 20th century in 1981 celebrated a marriage that turned out to be a huge bust. It ended as badly as relationships can: scandal, divorce, and ultimately death and worldwide weeping. So this is going to go in, and like I said, I really don't like these Time articles because they're more like they're not really hard news. They're just kind of opinion, and they're feature articles. So. Go in there and check it out, and you can read the nice little disinfo piece that that these guys have written for the globalists. And there's too many people on the earth, and all the other good stuff. UN Health Agency urges countries to, quote, adjust and strengthen their healthcare financing. So you just remember, when you hear healthcare, that's death care, okay? Because you saw in the last video about Bill Gates saying that healthcare and Planned Parenthood, basically what he's talking about is abortions, and he's talking about health care, which is death care, and he's talking about vaccines, and refers to those three things as solutions or answers to solving the overpopulation crisis and the cutting CO2 crisis. So that's pretty much all you really need to know, right? Environmentalism equals eugenics. The United Nations on Monday offered all nations, rich and poor, some practical guidance on financing healthcare. The tips include efficient tax collection and having richer countries donate a percentage of the gross domestic product to a development assistance fund. And of course, this is the world government. These are the unelected bodies. This is the governance, not government. This is the governance. These are the dictators, the scientific dictators, and they're giving guidance. You see? Guidance. 1 year reprieve from death tax prompting die quickly decisions. Very rich. I'm not even going to say that. In other words, what we got here is someone, people wanting to avoid a death tax, so they go ahead and just try to die before the end of the year, so that they don't have to offload this burden, this death tax onto their loved ones, right? So they're just going to go ahead and kill themselves. California aims to remove toxins in products. It's almost unthinkable now that environmentalists and manufacturers once stood together. As Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger signed a bill making California the first state to regulate toxic chemicals in consumer products. Well, hopefully he'll remove BPA like Canada did recently, right? Government search for batch of tainted drinks. As recently, just today from People's Online, market regulators Central China's Hubei province have started an, quote, all-out search for a batch of dairy products that is believed to contain melamine, a toxic industrial chemical that killed at least 6 infants and sickened about 300,000 children across the country in 2008. So, pretty sick stuff. Of course, China has the brunt of eugenics, unfortunately, with the forced abortions and whatnot. And we know about all the Chinese products, the cadmium and the lead and everything that's in their drywall and their toys and that, and how dangerous it is. And like I said, it's all directed towards mostly children. Unfortunately, they're the victims, and they really don't have any say over anything. So that's kind of the crappy part. So it says mayors sign global pact to tackle urban emissions. So here we go in Mexico, as a governor. I just covered it today in the War on Terror, Liberty, Sovereignty video. A governor, he was just murdered. He was gunned down at his house, and it's just an everyday thing. I think there's been maybe 20 officials so far, if that, at least 20 government officials in Mexico that have been murdered by the real government, which is the drug cartels. And so now they're going to talk about climate like they actually effing care. Mayors from around the world have signed a voluntary pact committing them to reduce urban greenhouse gas emissions at the climate summit in Mexico City, the Mexico City Pact. So there you go, folks. And 90%, I want to say 90+%, about 95% of greenhouse gases, let's just go with 90%, is water vapor. And you got, methane at 4%? CO2 is less than 1% of greenhouse gases. The global water temperatures have been cooling. The global air temperatures have been cooling for the past 10 years. So I don't know where these guys are getting this information from, but it's all a fraud. So experts demand better protection for sharks. So while people are dying, having their wealth stolen from them through all these Ponzi schemes, like what's going on in Europe and Ireland and all that, and we're just going down into this abyss, this brave new world, and the best thing that people can worry about is that there's the sharks are going to die. The sharks are, we're worried about the sharks dying. Like yesterday, or not yesterday, but just recently, I saw someone with a, save the manatee sticker on the back of their car. And I'm just like, what is the matter with these people? Where are your priorities? Seriously. I mean, I love animals as much as any other person. I have a dog, and I love animals. But seriously, there's a lot more things at stake, like your freaking life and your health and the eugenics that is being carried on you, like I said, on a daily basis. Everywhere you go, you are being attacked. The air that you breathe, the water that you drink, that food, the containers that hold the food, the toys, your clothes, the GMO cotton, everything is eugenics, and you're being attacked by it, and all you can worry about is the freaking sharks. Get a life, people. That's all I got to say. LA County bans plastic bags, so all in the name of a fraudulent scientific theory known as climate change or global warming, they're going to ban plastic bags. U.S. scientists significantly more likely to publish fake research. This is from PsyOrg.com, so go and check that out. Not a big surprise, right? Climate change strategy, be afraid, but only a little. So there's the polar bears, right? One of the best swimmers of all the animals or mammals on the planet is this one right here, and we're worried about the ice sheets melting and they might have to swim. Well, don't worry, there is other ice and glaciers and whatnot, ice sheets and that. They are actually expanding while others are, decreasing and getting smaller. So don't worry, the world's not going to end in the next couple of years or in 2020. And lastly, I'd like to plug the Intel Hub and their interview with the Evergreen air facility. and he does an interview with a whistleblower about chemtrailing and the CIA front company. So please check that out. Thank you for joining me in this Eugenics Global Government News, and I'm Darko.